Gary's on the Zoom line to give his reaction to the conversation with the Prime Minister. I'm sure you are quite aware of the developments coming out of that conversation, Gary. See you smiling this morning as always. Great to see you. Thanks for the time. Would we assume that without calling your name, are you the man that he's claiming that the population that took the numbers from the thousands, well, the 1,600 into, well, again, he got the empiricals. I don't have it. Is this the case, Gary? What's your reaction?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I think favorite singer is Lionel Richie. He just loves to lie. He lives in Lightwood Village. It is unbelievable that a prime minister can mislead a country like that. That never happened. It was claimed that I issued 6,000 firearms in 3 years. Let's do the maths. That's 2,000 firearms a year. Why would firearm dealers import 64,000 firearms? For them to import 64,000 firearms, I don't know if Kitrobi did his maths in August. That means that it will take 32 years before they can sell those firearms, based on the fact that he claimed that I was issuing so many firearms. So that is a blatant lie. No more than about 5,000 firearms actually entered Trinidad and Tobago from firearm dealers during that last year. So that is a blatant lie. So I challenge him, show in customs that 64,000 firearms entered. But that is what the PNM's style has always been, to lie and keep lying and hope that the people will believe it. If you notice that conversation with the Prime Minister last night, it was choreographed. Somebody turns up and asks a question, and immediately, coincidentally, he pulls up his phone and starts to read out exactly what it is the person asked. So the country will now realize that conversations with a Prime Minister, it is fake, it is fraud, it is choreographed. And I would think that instead of trying to set up people in the audience and prepare them with questions so that you will have the answers on your phone to pretend like, oh, it's just so happened, I have this answer. So Kitrobi, we've caught you as being a fraud. But more important is that instead of choreographing questions about legal firearms, why don't you choreograph the questions for persons to ask, what have you done as a Prime Minister in the last 9 years to prevent illegal firearms entering the country and to seize the illegal firearms that are already in the country? Because that has contributed to almost 100% of all the murders by firearms in the last decade. And you have done nothing. He has taken this information that he claims from Erla Christopher. Erla Christopher's reliability is probably more sound than the Manchester United defense over the last few seasons. This is a lady who did not have 2 seconds to sign, to put a signature, and the taxpayers have to pay because of people who have applied and approved firearm permits provisional, and she did not authorize it by saying that she didn't have enough time. And that is who he's claiming to get information from. To re-emphasize again, the one thing that Kitrobi is not accustomed to is persons doubling down to expose his misleading comments. I issued 6,000 firearms in 3 years, 6,000, and there were 25,000 applicants, 25,000. So which means that I was issuing 2,000 a year. So had I continued on that pace, it would have taken 12 to 15 years for those presently applied, those who presently applied. 12 to 15 years before we complete all. And he is stating that we were issuing firearms to everyone. That is a lie. He also stated that the plan is, and the concept is, that everyone has a constitutional right to get a firearm. That is a lie. Whoever said that? What we have said, similar to Kamala Prasad, that if you are eligible and you have gone through the criteria, what it is that is preventing you from getting it.
Well, he used the word privilege. He said it's a privilege, and after they do assessment, then the commissioner will sign off as to if you are able to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. But I want to also add, Gary, that the claim is that lots of these legal firearms that came in, I guess, during your tenure, because obviously there was an increase, there is a particular belief or a claim, and I want you to either confirm or refute, that some of these legal firearms, legal, not illegal, the legal ones would have been used in criminal endeavor.
Yeah, and again, it shows the man is as in local parlance, dotish as they come. Every single time there's a murder, there's something called ballistic testing done. The ballistic testing will pinpoint the type of firearm and the weapon itself. So all of the legal firearms that persons have, ballistic testing is done. So if at any time there's a murder and you go to the body and you do at the crime scene, the ballistic testing would have pinpointed any legal firearm that was used to kill that person. That has never taken place. As I said, it's almost 100% of all murders committed have been by illegal firearms. And the reason we are seeing illegal firearms is because at all times when they do the ballistic testing, it is not linked to any legal firearm issue. So that is also a lie. And again, going back to the perception that we are saying that it is a privilege. It is also a privilege to get a driver's permit. But the transport commissioner cannot say, well, I have too many things to do, so I'm not going to give you a driver's permit. If you apply for your driver's permit and you adhere to the criteria, then it means that what is stopping you from getting it? But as I said, I issued 6,000. 3,000 of that would have been to law enforcement officials, past and present, to protect them and their family. He has a problem with that. The other 3,000 were civilians. That is 0.3% of the population, 0.3%. And this man is stating he want to give everybody a gun, so they must get a gun. 0.3% is what you say that everybody must get a gun? No, Keith Rowley, not everybody got a gun. It is a gun, by the way. And it's 0.3% of the population. And in that 0.3%, not one was lost, not one was stolen, not one was used for a crime. In fact, it saved the lives of hundreds of persons. And what made it worse, which I must add, the hypocrisy of this same Keith Rowley, I challenge you. Did you not harass a commissioner of police to get a firearm dealership license for somebody new in Tobago to sell hundreds of more firearms? And then, as a prime minister, a minister of national security, and an acting commissioner, between the three of them, they asked and harassed me for 60 firearms for their friends and persons in high places. Those 25,000 people waiting for their firearms, had they done the same thing, that would have been 500,000 firearms entering the country. What gives you the privilege? And if you, Keith Rowley, have a problem, maybe you should say, well, listen, if I have firearms and a variation, I should immediately send it back to the police because I have a problem with people having firearms. The fact, again, is that what we have done is to ensure, because I was too efficient, I was too effective, and commissioners before me and after me, because of their laziness and not adhering to the law stated that if there's a proper criteria, you should adhere to it. And let me also add another lie that he stated when he said that we removed the authority of the heads of divisions from doing the due diligence. That also was a lie. That never ended. What we did is to make sure that it can be efficient and to prevent and minimize corruption. We understood that hundreds of persons would have applied for firearms. It would remain at the station for years. And then we had reports of police officers trying to bribe persons before they sent up. What we said is that the heads of divisions must do due diligence, the background check, speaking to the spouse, and you have 3 months to bring it to the firearm compliance unit, which was also never there before, to make sure that the right person will get the firearm, which is why in my 3 years, not one was lost, not one was stolen, not one was used for a crime.
Well, Gary, I can tell you this, whether it's a privilege or not, the reality is many want to get that firearm to give themselves a layer of protection because of the crime situation in the country. I want to take you to the conversation again with the Prime Minister, and he had this to say on crime. I want to get your comments after.
The government has no role in the court in adjudicating on whether bail should be granted, because the law says that is the option of the judicial officer to whom the application for bail is made. The government has no role in determining how big the bail should be. But as citizens, we could comment, because the judges do comment on what's happening with the parliamentarians and the cabinet. But we could comment on how that and those laws are applied. Because I could tell you as Prime Minister, my eyebrows are raised from time to time. Only recently, I saw a situation of news where 2 persons, they're nameless, so I can't call their names, but 2 persons were apprehended for aggravated violent crime involving a firearm. That goes to the court. And then the matter was concluded, so it became news, and we all read it. Aggravated violent crime, gun crime, where the gun was not even handed over or found, and the court put the perpetrators on a bond. I am not happy with that. I don't think you are. But of course, the judicial officer in the court has the right to make that decision. That is what the law permits. And therefore, if the government is going to do anything, the government has to look at it from law. Are we going to change the law to say a judge can't do that? Well, you know, the judges have interpreted the law that the parliament passed to say, you could change the law, but at the end of the day, the law says that the judgment is ours. So, to answer your question more directly, there are some things the government can do from time to time in amending the law or introducing new laws, but when it comes to applying the law to the situations, that is entirely in the hands of other citizens who are beyond the cabinet, beyond the prime minister, and beyond the average citizen. Putting gun-toting people on a bond, one has to be parliamentary with the language to describe that.
Gary, are we to assume, based on the Prime Minister's assessment, the judicial system are the ones dropping the ball when it comes to the crime fight?
Well, the first thing I will advise the Prime Minister, get a better fashion designer. That is the ugliest shirt I've ever seen in my life. But besides that, he then comes about and shows this hypocrisy yet again, in that when it is I spoke about criminal elements who are caught with an assault rifle that can kill 35 persons in 3 seconds, it should be changed and utilize the Anti-Terrorism Act to ensure that they cannot get bail. His audacity is the first thing he said, to lie to the country again, because I said his favorite singer is Lionel Richie. And he said about it, raise his eyebrows. He certainly can't raise the hair on his head because he has none. But the audacity to say that I am saying that every single criminal must be a terrorist. No, he lied again. So the same concern he had, you can change the law under the Anti-Terrorism Act that if someone is caught with an assault weapon that can kill 35 persons in 3 seconds, that person should be deemed a terrorist. It also means that those people who harbored, aided, and abetted him, in supporting him, who provided the weapon for him, they will all now will get capital punishment, no bail, maximum sentence, 25 years in prison. He immediately objected to my recommendation, which is what would be put in place as soon as we get in government to ensure that those persons with assault weapons will be deemed as a terrorist. And again, the sad thing is that the misinformation being fed by this government through audits and reports, I was actually in court recently, and the court even was misled to believe that certain things about firearms entering the country of hundreds of thousands. So you're even misleading the court with your fake and false information. But as I said, you can change it if you want. You could have changed this to the Anti-Terrorism Act, and he refused. Instead, what they have done is to try to harass, frustrate, and manipulate firearm dealers and firearm holders to the point that, remember, a civilian, a citizen of this country was abducted in Barbados. And the only person that could have given the police authority to go and leave our territorial waters, which is the only jurisdiction and authority that the police have, is through a senior government official in the National Security Council, and no one is speaking about it. So a minister has been involved in aiding and abetting in a criminal offense, and nothing was done.
Okay, so again, lots of developments, lots going on. I'll give you a chance as we look to wrap things up to put your closing remarks. I know obviously you've mentioned, I just want to kind of pivot really quick on the political front. You have indicated St. Joseph. Just really fast, you get your boots ready because there's going to be lots of walking, from as far west as Ikwese, all the hills, valleys. We just have a minute to go. Are you determined?
Again, quickly, that he already continues to mislead the country with lies and fake information pertaining to firearms. We intend to ensure that if you are a law-abiding citizen, you adhere to the criteria, whether it is you're the small farmer, the businessman, the hunter, the sports person, you will get it. 2,000 firearms a year is 0.3% of the population. As it pertains to St. Joseph, I intend to make St. Joseph safer again. PNM, you could find Barack Obama. You can't beat me in St. Joseph.
All right. All right, Gary. Well, thanks as always for your time, and we will touch base soon. All the best.
Take care.